consecutive months and are now enjoying the free upgrade.
To keep the upgrade, just continue using your Platinum Loyalty Card to pay your cable bills. Pay your bill in-store or online at www.thecable.net. Sign up for the Cable Platinum Loyalty Card today and get more. Terms and conditions apply.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Frank and Candid on this Wednesday, hump day. Hope all is well. Let's go to the news. General election scheduled for November in Haiti has been postponed indefinitely after the country's prime minister dismissed all members of the body which organizes elections. Prime Minister Ariel Henry said he would appoint a new electoral council, but has not said when he would do so. It is the fourth time that the election has been postponed. Haiti has been torn apart by a fierce power struggle triggered by the killing of President Jovenel Moïse in July. Prime Minister Henry, who was named by President Moïse just 2 days before the killing, ordered the dissolution of the 9-member Provisional Electoral Council on Monday. A decree to that effect was published in the Haiti's official gazette. The Provisional Electoral Council is Haiti's electoral commission and the body responsible for organizing presidential and parliamentary elections. Its role includes ensuring that elections are held freely and fairly. The most recent controversy involving the commission or the council started in July 2020 when all 9 members of the council resigned. They did so in protest at attempts by then President Moïse to change the 1987 constitution to strengthen the role of the presidency and lessen that of the parliament. Speaking of parliament, here at home, our National Assembly will meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. So tune in to that. That will be covered right here on ZIZ Radio and Television. Okay, as we continue through September and our national conversation, national development, I want to talk a little bit this morning about our Constitution. There's been quite a lot of talk over many years about reform. We haven't seen much of that, if any. But let's talk a little bit about our Constitution as we round off our September month of observance of our 38th anniversary. Now, the way our Constitution is set up, it contains what is referred to as entrenched clauses. And what does that mean? These are clauses that can only be removed or changed by a 2/3 majority in the National Assembly, followed by 2/3 majorities in separate referenda in St. Kitts and in Nevis. So, with that in mind, I'm sure you then accept that the chances of changing any of these entrenched clauses in our current environment is nil. Let me give you some examples of what entrenched provisions would be. In Chapter 1 of our Constitution, it deals with the description of and the territory of the country, and it deals with the supremacy of the Constitution. You cannot just change that any old how. That is an entrenched provision which must take the 2/3 in Parliament and the 2/3 on Nevis and the 2/3 on St. Kitts vote to change that. In Chapter 2, it deals with the fundamental rights and freedoms It deals with the establishment of the office of the Governor General and the authority vested in that office. It also deals with the establishment and composition of the National Assembly, the election of representatives, and the appointment of senators. Those, again, you cannot change just willy-nilly. You must have the 2/3 in Parliament and 2/3 on both islands. So, there may be more realistic a chance of changing some of the clauses in the Constitution that are not entrenched. These, all they need is a 2/3 majority in Parliament to make these changes that are considered non-entrenched provisions. For example, the Prime Minister and Ministers of Government, the provisions establishing the executive, that is the office of the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Government, are not entrenched. This means that changes can be made without referenda to the executive structure of the government. More particularly, as a specific example, term limits can be imposed on the Prime Minister with just the 2/3, because it's not an entrenched provision. You have 2/3 in Parliament, that can be done. Also, there is currently no provision for things like issue balloting in our Constitution. And what do I mean by that? In some jurisdictions, issues are put to the public for a vote, referendum, or ballot items, as we would say, where a decision has to be made. You put it to the electorate as a ballot item, you vote on it, and if it passes, that's where we go. So, provisions could be added to the Constitution to provide for issue ballots on specific issues. The thought is that something like that would take away the tribal politics out of important issues and allow people to vote their conscience. And that would help to promote issue-based politics. For example, we talk a lot here about whether or not this country should move from the situation where the Privy Council is our final court of appeal and move to the CCJ. That is one issue that would be a perfect type of ballot issue, where you put it to the public in a referendum and they vote on it, and then you proceed from there. There's also another issue that we talk about here a lot, and some people disagree with this particular provision, which is the dual nationality disqualification. That could be removed from the Constitution if we see fit. Put it to a referendum and see. A citizen is a citizen entitled to all the rights and privileges associated with that citizenship. Some may agree and some may not. But all these are things that could be looked at in the context of constitutional reform. There are some other issues that always come to the fore. One of them, for example, that has been created quite a stir in the media, in the kitchen table, on the streets, the issue of citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis who reside overseas having the privilege to exercise their right to return home and vote during election time. It is a constant argument as to whether or not this should be continued, or if so, under what terms. And to understand why people living overseas and voting is considered such a contentious issue, one must first understand, or at the very least, know the history, not just that of St. Kitts and Nevis, but the experience of some of our neighbors in the region. Many of you may be old enough to remember the Guyana experience, where there were a lot of talk about rigging of elections during the periods of Forbes Burnham and Chetty Jagan, and people became skeptical, rightly so, of allowing Guyanese who live overseas to vote. Our 1983 Constitution gives persons in the diaspora the right to be registered and vote if they are domiciled, and that is a key word to keep in mind, domiciled in a constituency here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We can debate, as we have, the wisdom of that for generations to come. But I do understand the intent of that provision, and I do support the position that all citizens of this country should have the right to vote regardless to where they reside. However, this provision has been exploited to the point where the system for many years was plagued with serious fraud. For example, I'm sure that many of us are aware or have heard of instances of overseas voters residing overseas, who somehow managed to acquire voter registration and appear on a voters list even though they have not set foot in St. Kitts or Nevis for years. Now, our laws say you can only register to vote if you physically appear at the electoral office in St. Kitts Nevis. Yet, some people end up with voter IDs and voter registration, and they've not been in St. Kitts for, as we say, donkey years. As it relates to the debate over people residing overseas, I do understand that many are a bit torn on the issue, and given the constitutional right afforded to all nationals to vote. Now, if we look at the argument as just a pure requirement, residency requirement, then it may not be so contentious, but people seem to be couching this thing as a overseas voter versus a resident voter. So one of the arguments has its roots in the fact that we have roughly 20% of the electorate living abroad. And this is based on statistics from prior elections. And given our small voter roll, this could be significant and can actually be the single group that determines the outcome of an election. Also, it has been argued that given that these nationals only ever return for short drop-ins or flyby, as some may call it, opponents will say that they do not see why they should have to live with their election choices. Now, I support every citizen having the right to vote. However, I believe there must be the proper legislative framework to facilitate voters who live wherever they may live to avoid fraud. The voters list, as it stands today, in my opinion, is corrupt and needs to be replaced. To do so, I believe we must get rid of it and cause every person to re-register. And this is, to me, the only way to ensure a clean list. We cannot continue to patch the same old tire over and over. At some point, we must get a new tire. Naturally, as you re-register, you must now be required to prove your residency. And I don't believe anybody would disagree with that. Now, to be frank, I don't even really care a whole lot about residency time. I am not stuck on this whole idea of whether it's 6 months, 3 months, 3 days. But the basics of a constituency system is that if you claim to be eligible to vote in a particular constituency, it must not be anything goes. And most reasonable people will say you must prove that you reside there, or domicile, if that's the, or, if you will. So most people, most reasonable people, would not have a problem with saying that if you're claiming to be a resident of a constituency and claiming to have the right to vote in that constituency, then when you register, there must be a way for you to prove that residency. And so we're all looking for a system that facilitate elections that are free and fair. And so that's where that whole issue of voters who don't reside on the islands comes in. And as I said, it is reasonable, as a matter of fact, important that people claiming to vote or to have access to or to reside in and therefore vote for a representative in a particular constituency must therefore be deemed to be qualified to do so by virtue of them proving that they are a resident of that constituency. Whether the legislation says you need to be residing in that constituency for 3 days or 3 months or 6 months or whatever, something should be in place to give legitimacy to your claim that you reside in that constituency. Otherwise, the whole thing is a sham. So, as we move forward, heading into 39 and 40 and 50 years of independence, at some point, we're going to have to get this thing right. We're going to have to make adjustments, amendments, or totally new our Constitution so that it reflects the will and it reflects just plain old common sense as to what we do here as a nation as we move forward. That's my take this morning. 465-2555 is the local number, and 718-577-2916 is the North American number, if that's more convenient for you. We can take a quick break. When we come back, you can use those numbers to give me your thoughts as to anything I just said. We will be back.
Time to beat the clock. 4 days only. Monday 27th to Thursday 30th September. Shop from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. to enjoy employee pricing up to 20% off. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll pay your VAT. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. You pick your discount. And from 3 p.m. till doors close. BOGO. Buy one, get one 50% off. Shop with ready finance and pay nothing for 60 days. It's the end of summer. Come beat the clock and take advantage of your favorite deals. Only at Courts. Offer valid on credit purchases. Other conditions apply. See in store for details. Courts. Bringing value home.
Farm care, farm care.
Fill your prescription from the comfort of your home or wherever you are in these 3 easy steps. 1. Take a picture of your prescription and send it to us via WhatsApp. 2. Place your order at least 1 hour before you come to pick up your medication. And 3. Bring your original prescription when you come to pick up your medication. To collect your medication at our Bird Rock branch, WhatsApp your prescription to 662-8623. And for pickup at our 4th Street branch, 662-2666. At Farm Care, your safety is our priority.
Whether it's a dress store on 4th Street, a snack in Kayon, or a village grocery in St. Paul's, our small businesses play an important role in our economy. By supporting these businesses, you are helping to create or keep a job or two and to revive our economy. Support our local small businesses. Buy local and keep the doors to our small businesses open. This message is brought to you by ZIZ in support of our small businesses across the Federation.
Tune in for Policing with You, a half-hour radio program every Thursday morning at 9:15 on ZIZ Radio. Join host Inspector James Francis of the Criminal Investigations Department as he focuses on crime, factors contributing to criminal activity, crime prevention, and how the community can assist the police in reducing crime. It's Policing with You every Thursday morning at 9:15 on ZIZ Radio. Join us.
All right, welcome back to Frank and Candid on this Wednesday. We continuing our discussion throughout the month of nation building, national development, and all the things that go with that. And this morning we're talking about our Constitution and its possible reform. We will go to the phones. And we will say good morning. Welcome to our caller. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Yeah, good morning, Tony.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tony, I agree with that topic you come up with. I believe that it's time now, after 38 years, going to 39, nearly 50 years of independence, we should to make some constitution amendment to our electoral system. Because look at it. Now, you is a national born here, but you can live overseas for 20 years, and you contribute into social security, contribute into out there. You never contribute to nothing here. You live out here all the time. You understand? When you reach your pension, you get your pension from out there. And you see, two election coming, any election coming. And after just 5 years, 2 years before election, just before you come back home, and you're going to make a decision with somebody who lives in the country, paying the tax all the time, paying the social security, paying the bills, paying the this, paying the that, to help build the country. Listen, I'm not against people who are there and who work in, who got property here, and paying the tax here, and doing whatever they could do here. You understand? But I believe that we should make some amendment to some people who out there and just forget about the country, because some people will come and a family member dead. Some people don't even just come. So I would like to see some amendment to this constitution, because it's not bad to see that somebody just come in just maybe an hour, half an hour, 2 hours, and vote for a candidate of the choice and gone back to America or England or wherever they come from. You understand? I will put something put in place. I have them.
Okay. All right, let's go to the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Knight.
Good morning.
I wish to make a contribution in your topic at hand.
Sure.
Yesterday I got the gist of your topic, but I got distracted in other shows, so I was not able to make a contribution. I hope I can do some justice for yesterday. Seems like it's the same trend. Yes, but it's going to be a tedious process, which you already outlined so many things to be done within a 5-year period. So what would be a part of what we call the manifesto? That overhaul the Constitution, revamping and everything like that should be the first thing on the manifesto, high on the agenda, to alert the people, to let the people know we have a mandate now. As soon as we have been sworn into office, we shall get to work on the very first thing. Because it seems like when it comes down to a certain time close to the election, all these things are forgotten about. So we'll put this thing in our manifesto, yes. As soon as we get seated in office, we're going to work. Because there are so many things to be have. What shall you do? Put the horse before the carriage or the carriage before the horse? In the sense that how would we have a dialogue with the governing party, the government, and the opposition to, iron out certain things that all, it will be reflective of when this thing is done, that all was on board. And so it needs to be started from the get-go, so that throughout the process, throughout the time of the 5-year period, everything will be fall into place, and all parties will be represented, and not all will be 100% satisfied. At least you will have a consensus going forward that all was on board, and this is how it's going to be reflective in terms of the nation building and overhauling, revamping, our constitution and the electoral reform process, voting aspect. Should you be here 30 days, 60 days, 90 days before, for those who reside out, not just in the US and the UK, but even in Ireland, should we be here a certain period of time before, or what? All of those things need to be pressed out, and it cannot be done happenstance. We get to office, and then we're going to do it, and then we're going to put a hold on it because the election season is upon us again. And I think if that was to be done, we would not have seen and having this, what we call the political tribalism. Because it seems like this thing never stops. It's like a cycle. It goes right and round and round. For me, I have acknowledged it, and I decide that this nation has other pillars that is built on. So I say, well, like the 4 seasons of the year, I say, well, I will talk my politics. I will politic, yes, but it has its seasons. And so I will use the other 3 seasons towards the other pillars that we are hinged on. If we are hinged on like a tripod, see, I'm going to deal with the other 2 pillars apart from the politics. If it is economic or religion or health, whatever it is, I think I should strike a balance in how my view towards a nation is being hinged on, as opposed to politics, as if I'm so ingrained into just this politics alone. I should be able to have a balance in the way I come across in terms of nation building. That's my take. Thanks for listening. We shall deal with, I saw you yesterday, and that area we shall deal with it, but reserve that for Friday.
Okay.
Because that area needs bathroom facilities, water, and the like. Thanks for
Okay.
listening.
Sure. All right. We go in
All right.
phone. Good morning. Welcome. Good morning.
Greetings in the name of our great African ancestors, especially the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, Queen and Zinger. A blessed my beloved African, but over you, all the family.
All doing well. All doing well. You?
Good, man, and the clan is good. Now, beloved, just give me 5 seconds to speak about my great Pan-Africanist sister Mia Motley, and the Prime Minister. Let me say our Pan-Africanist sister and the Prime Minister of Barbados. But let me just say to all our people, man, we must big up and commend Sister Mia Motley, man. She did within any state she on. Stand up for African peoples, beloved. And we must commend her. And we all know she have, at least I know of one Pan-Africanist in her government, Brother David Commersang. Hope I pronounce his last name correct. But again, I just pick up Sister Mia Motley. Now, brother, let me get to the time. Brother, like you got in circles, man. Cycle round and around, round and around. One administration come, same crap. They got a manifesto long from the Caribbean to Africa. Makes no sense. They don't even think, this immunity, they fulfill, and now in the first manifesto, they fulfill about 80-something and 90-something%, stand corrected and that. But I see, brother, you want to tell me, man, that you're a national of a country, and you got to think, like 6 months, 3 months, whatever. It makes no sense. That's absolute backwardness. It must be no more than 2 weeks. Let me repeat that. 2 weeks. And then you could be registered. You must be allowed to register to vote. The only thing I am against, beloved brother, and some other things go along with that. Your last place of residence is number 6. Unless you take up legal residence in another constituency, that's where you must vote, in number 6. And we got to make examples. Beloved, anybody who break the law, give them at least, I don't like the jailing business, especially for civil things and so, you know what I mean? It's not a felony high, crime thing. Because a lot of these politicians, a lot of them should be in prison. A lot of them, beloved, if you really check in the thing. And all sides. Beloved, come on, that's all it needs, man. What you going to give people 3 months, 6 months for what? No, man, that's utter nonsense, backwardness. That's why I say we must become a republic by 2025. This in and out and this nonsensical constitution that we have, that was given to us by the British, it makes no sense in these times. Makes no sense. You want to tell me somebody who born in England and the rest of the, let me don't use the word, say in India, Australia, Canada, who ain't look like us. It's not all of them born there, but I'm talking about them. Could just spend what? A year in St. Kitts Nevis and allowed to vote, and somebody who navel string buried there, who ancestors shed blood, sweat and tears and pay the ultimate prices. Got you all kind of crap. And Mr. Politics, you are my brother, beloved, and I will always love you, and I know it's reciprocal. But my brother, stop talk about this thing about our people. I don't hear you say about other races. People who never string berry, about the African people, but must be first and foremost. And we must control politically and economically in St. Kitts Nevis, brother. Because we can't go no other place, England, Australia, China, whatever, and run things. South African people must want things in St. Kitts Nevis. But this nonsense, you know, this, that, none of them. Look at the two terms thing of Prime Minister. You hear this the immunity administration come back and say anything since the 2020 election? No, that was just because they knew that they could not pass it because the guy from St. Paul's party would now go with along and they didn't have the 2/3 majority. Now they have it. How come we not hear nothing about that? How come we ain't hear nothing about that? Come on, Mr. Prime Minister. You and your cabinet, we need this thing back in there until 2025 when we put it to the, make sure we educate our people. Educate our people about, you know what I mean, like new constitution or a republic thing, executive thing with the executive president. Educate our people, we got a long time. Education. And then our people make a choice. Put it to the referendum, whatever it is. I want it to be yes, get it 2/3, whatever, and we move on from there. But this like come out, peep out your head out the factual, put it back in. Come out when you suit you, go hide. When you ain't suit you, man, we got to stop play this nonsensical game with our people. And I blame, I'm going to finish now, brother. I blame the people of St. Kitts Nevis, African people. This is our country. And no politician or politician should run it the way they want. He or she or them want. No. People must demand how our country run. And demand that. And if whosoever with a party or parties don't do the right thing, next election you get rid of all of them, beloved. So we must do the right thing and demand from these people that this is not their house or their land, so they do what they want on it. No, this thing belongs to the people of St. Kitts Nevis, and we must demand what politicians do, not what they want. Thanks again for hearing me, my beloved African, but Pan-Africanism our place. One love, my beloved brother.
All right, one love. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Nabo need to hush and sit down. You cannot stay in the United States and run St. Kitts. You will never be. And all you've been saying will never take place to please you. You want to book a flight based on your vacation and come in St. Kitts and go back. It doesn't work the way. Come home and contribute to the government. Help build St. Kitts. Pay social security. You running your mouth so much on white people. What is the secret for you to hold on in America and planting all your seeds here? I know America is good. I know America is good because I benefit from America. And that is the reason. But there's a sheep in wolf clothing now. My name is Calvin Adams. So you can call back in and say all what you have to say. You neighbor string very deeply, and my neighbor string very sadlers. 90% of people in St. Kitts know what I contribute to St. Kitts. What you contribute to St. Kitts? Nothing, and all you contributing is nonsense. It's about time. So you could call back in because you cannot measure up to me. And we ain't talking about money or intelligence. No, I am me, and you is you. You going down the wrong path because you don't believe in God. Bye. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right, let's go back to the next caller. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Nair.
Good morning, sir.
I just have a very brief intervention. We seem to be going forever in circles with this thing, right? And getting nowhere. question is, what does it take to advance the process? And who is to advance it? That's the question. The only people who can drive the change in this is those who have the power to drive the change. And if they are not being held accountable to do the things that they said they would, which is change both the constitution, things like the electoral process, or campaign finance reform, if they're not doing it, who else is going to do it? They are the ones who pass the laws, so they should be held accountable. And don't tell me that it was not done in the past, so we shouldn't do anything about it. No. That makes absolutely no sense. That's not logical thinking. Right? And these things should not be left, whatever process is designed, whatever system is put in place to effect the changes that we need, whether to the Constitution or boundaries or electoral reform or campaign finance reform, they should be independent, an independent body. We cannot rely on people who are intimately involved and are benefiting from the system to change it. That's never going to happen. And that's the problem we've been having. When one group is in, they want to keep the status quo because it benefits them. When they're in opposition, it's the reverse. They want to change it because they realize it's disadvantaged. That's why it has to be an independent process. We cannot solve every little nitty-gritty here, like who should vote or residency requirement and those kinds of things, right? Those things are up for negotiation between parties and whoever the independent people who are designing the systems. Those kinds of details are, I think, should be up to them. Of course, consult, but in the final analysis, shows like this is not going to solve the problem. The only way that we'll ever go forward is if we hold those in power now accountable, right? Otherwise, you're going to be coming back here next 5, 10, 15 years with the same old discussion, right? Time to move forward. And the same thing applies to your issue that you raised yesterday, with the tribalism. Things will not change unless we hold those in power accountable. They don't have any reason to change things because they're benefiting from it. They have lots of resources that they can dish out, because that is what causes the tribalism, right? How the resources are shared. And I don't know how you develop a country by just looking after one half, right? That is the main cause, the root cause of the tribalism. And unless things change by good governance systems, it will never change. That's the long and short of it.
Okay.
Okay then.
Thank you. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for taking my call. Sure. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Two points, please, on the question of two-term limits for the Prime Minister and, changes in the Constitution. One on the term limits of the Prime Minister and the other is about the Republic. On the term limits, the Constitution for St. Kitts and Nevis says, there shall be a Prime Minister of St. Christopher and Nevis who shall be appointed by the Governor General. And then it goes on, whenever the Governor General has occasion to appoint a Prime Minister, he or she shall appoint a representative who appears to him or her likely to command the support of the majority of the representatives. My question would be this. If you change the Constitution for term limits, and you're not supposed to want, as I understand, any inconsistencies in a Constitution, how does it gel with this absolute authority given to the Governor General? Which one has precedence? If you have a term limit and the Governor General still has the right to appoint someone who, in his opinion, is likely to command the support of the majority of the representatives.
You put in a disqualification clause.
Pardon? Then you'll have to change that. You'll have to change that section as well. That's the point I'm saying. So that's a whole issue by itself. That's number one. Then the second thing is to do with the republics, because I know you had some discussions about that. And I would say that to me that's a continuing talk or conversation, because as someone pointed out in one of your sessions, we are only 38 years into independence. Barbados is celebrating its 50th. I do not know if there's any other island or country in our OECS area in terms of advancement, because I think Dominica has something like that. But in terms of advance, if we're looking to see or to emulate countries which have advanced in the world, where were they after 38 years of independence? So I think that is a continuing discussion. I think we may come to it eventually, but I think for now we have to sort out our internal problems first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning. You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. I agree with politics. We see what happened over the 20 years, and I hope it won't happen again. So again, if the ministers know they're not living where they say, why put their name there for their own convenience? It's wrong. And who want to call into bash talking, they must talk too. See you.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, Tony Megan.
Yeah.
Tony, a lot of people that have a lot of problem with the non-national who in Barney. But Tony, when they go vote, I myself had a problem from the beginning because it was very dirty. People was used to just come in and just bring them in because they want them to vote. But I see no change under the unity administration. Now, a non-national who born here and maybe get the citizen rights by maybe living here or married to someone and pay me the job, their job life and all those things are working here and contributing to the country. I have no problem when the election comes to vote here because these people contribute to our economy more and some more people who live in here. Because when our national who live in here said they can't get work, these people finding job, these people doing their own entrepreneur business, these people doing farming, especially the Guyanese them. So these people sometimes contribute to our country, the economy, more than who the national them who are in here. And the next thing of them, Brother Tony, let me tell you something. I know Brother Nabu is an outspoken man, and I respect Brother Nabu with where he coming with, because Brother Nabu sound to me like he's a no-nonsense and not take no. But when some people come on and talk and they want this done and they want that done, and nothing done and nothing done, that's only politics, son. That's only politics. Because if this Labour government get back in there tomorrow, and the same thing continue, you will never hear nothing let a gentleman come on and say these things. They was there for 20 years. And the same situation people were talking about it, because we're talking about it. Yeah? We're talking about all these things for 20 years, we're talking about them. For the 20 years they was there, we talking about them. You understand? So I don't know where this caller coming on and trying to say this and trying to say not and change and not this and not that. These men are only here for 7 years now. For 7 years. Going on 7 years. This government is over the unity. I don't know some people just because the party I mean, they're saying alternate, they're saying alternative, nothing good to come from the place and say. Let the time, let me clear the party get back in the tomorrow. They're going to use the mode. And tell you, if I get back, I want to talk about something else again. All right, just a minute, get a chance.
Okay. All right, let's go Back to the phone. Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Nayas. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well.
I am still on the thing with Kenneth, you know. You get anything with Kenneth and the marine people?
I'm going to try to get him in next week, to deal with that next week, so.
Because, you know, when the tourist thing coming on and, you know, what the man is saying, make a lot of sense because you yourself, when I have to see a goldfish?
In quite a while.
Okay. So I want that because that's the program we want right now. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning.
Mr. Nayas, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for taking my call. Mr. Nayas, I think that it should be widely known that our electoral system is a constituency system and not a voting at large system. That is why America has all these problems. They have a voting at large system. We have a constituency system. Therefore, when we speak of having constituents and constituency representatives, these are basic to the electoral process of our country, according to our constitution. And when there is an electoral law which says that no voter should vote in a constituency where he or she does not live, and there are penalties of 5 years in jail or a fine of 30,000, all of which are serious consequences. Now, so that should politicians know that as long as the laws remain unchanged, they should be respected, we are not being allowed as a people to do anything. We have to conform to the laws which are laid down. Now we have a situation where politicians would try to twist the law and telling people they're not supposed to adhere to it. People are told that on polling day, anyone with a valid passport or a driver's license or a national ID card can go to the polls on voting day and should be allowed to vote, just as the persons who are properly registered. Now, when it comes to the processes of our election, the work of the electoral office should be paramount. No politician has any right to make their own list, which is a practice in some of our problems. Hence, as long as we stick to the electoral office doing its work the way it should, then the system that we have, the constituency system, would be properly implemented. You don't want to have people coming into our country to vote and then flying back on the next day or two. That is not a constituent doing that. That is a foreigner, whether the person was born in St. Kitts, yes or no. The fact of the matter is, basic to our electoral law, you must live in the constituency where you want to vote. I think I've made my point very clear. I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk.
Okay. Thank you. Back to the phones. Good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Nayas.
Yes, sir.
You know, I notice every time we have an election and one win and the other one lose, it's always a problem. But they have enough time to do what they could do, and nobody don't do that. Now this morning I was here, Mr. Dupan, talking about election will be held in, I think,
November or December. You understand me? Because this one and this one ain't getting on and this and the one ain't getting on. Man, just let me concentrate on the country. Concentrate on the country and develop the country and stop making bitterness between one another. You know, people got to run the country. Animals can't run it. So if you got a grievance with somebody and you feel that thing, leave them alone until the election come on and you vote against them. But right now with what's going on, and so bitter against one another is not doing no good for the country. You understand me? So they need to, instead of running up them out on the government who is in power, they need to buy extra Colgate and toothbrush.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the phone. Say good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes.
This thing will never change. You know why? In the 90s, in the 70s, and in the 80s. Mr. Brother say, come home, live for 6 months, and then go to your area where you live to work. Someone went and changed it to suit themselves, and that's why we're having this problem. And no one who know this thing about 2 term, I don't know where they don't get it done. Because no, they just say it's sweet you and it's sweet me. So not 2 term gonna come. We don't go down the wrong road. Nobody demonstrate like other country. And that's why we're gonna get this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You see in other countries, you see up in Italy the other day, the mass of people on the road, they demonstration. The more than 60,000 people there. We ain't doing nothing, talking. As someone say, 3, 4, 5, the 4th or the 5th person say, that ain't gonna help us. We need to go and demonstrate if we don't like it. Someone, Mr. Nice, come and want to go with your car, and you know you're not give them permission, fighting you for the key, but you do your call for help, call for the police. We ain't gonna police everybody. Is police, and me and you is police, and civil servants and everything in one. I don't know what's going on. No thing going right because I don't start wrong. I saw people in half a tree come from where they come from and when they go out 2010. And if it's sweet, you it's sweet. Me, I say I'm going to change it in 2015. Nothing happen. Right, they're going to stop. So what's all the color?
All right. Gotta go. We got final caller there? Caller, your final. Go ahead. Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Electoral boy, what are you talking about? Election? Who da America stop America? Who da England stop England? Who da Canada stop up there? Now come down here when people don't pay tax, social security, that hard life with both party and just dumping. That's why I got the president couldn't come down here. And next time, I put money in them there to get things out of politics, get some position. Let them keep their money. I'll allow them with the playing business. They gonna mash up the country. I'll allow them get over them things there.
All right.
And look, just kind of people who can think it because they got a green card, who living out, they go just jump in here. If they can't vote America, let them sit down and no vote no at all.
Okay, got you. All right. I guess the caller say who out stay out, who in stay in. Okay. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, National Assembly meets, so we won't be here. We'll be back on Friday to talk. Thank you all for listening. I'm Tony Nice. See you next time.